He told me we were exclusive on a Tuesday night, the kind of night that felt too ordinary for forever promises. We were on his couch, takeout containers open, the TV playing a show neither of us really watched. "You're my only," Ethan said, his palm warm against my knee. I remember thinking, finally, no more guessing, no more decoding half-texts and rescheduled plans. He smiled in that lazy, careful way he had, and I leaned into it because I wanted to believe him. I wanted to be done wondering. 2 weeks later, his twin brother knocked on my door. I'd heard about Liam in the way you hear about a distant cousin at every Thanksgiving, enough to know the name, never enough to know the person. Ethan mentioned him like a weather report. "Liam's in town. Liam's a mess. Liam's staying with me a few nights." I figured they were estranged or just not close. It fit Ethan's lone wolf thing. So when I opened my door and saw Ethan's face looking back at me, my stomach jumped. For a split second, I thought, is this a prank? Then the guy blinked, and I noticed the difference in his eyes. Ethan's eyes were steady, like a camera on a tripod. This guy's eyes darted, curious, wired. "Hey, sorry to show up unannounced," he said, smiling like we'd already said hello somewhere else. "I'm Liam." "Okay," I said, still holding my door half open. "Ethan isn't here." "I know. He told me to swing by, actually," Liam said, slipping his hands into his jacket. "He's running late. Said to tell you not to freak about the reschedule." That was odd. Ethan had texted an hour earlier. Traffic. Be there by 7. Not a reschedule. Liam went on like we were friends. He knew my new couch was from Facebook Marketplace, knew my landlord's obsession with the studio's no shoes rule, knew that I put cinnamon in my coffee, like a barista, but not, a phrase Ethan had teased me with once. "How do you know that?" I asked. He shrugged. "We talk. He talks about you." Something about his casual tone made my skin itch. It wasn't the information, it was the way he delivered it, like he'd seen the movie of my life and was casually spoiling the next scene. The narration left after a few minutes, saying he'd text Ethan to hurry up. Ethan arrived 20 minutes later, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "What's wrong?" "Your brother was here." He paused. "Here?" "Here. He knew everything. Stuff I never told you. Well, okay, maybe I told you, but Liam's nosy," he said, already annoyed. "He's been casing my phone like it's a crime scene. Ignore him." He pulled me into a hug that smelled like cedar and peppermint toothpaste, the exact scent that had started to feel like an answer key to my loneliness. I let it calm me. But a thread had been pulled. Little things frayed. A selfie Ethan sent from the office showed a framed poster I'd never seen in his workspace, a band he mocked. A photo from his mom's birthday had a cake that, according to Instagram, was actually served at his cousin's house the week before. We did a second cake, he said, but there were no candles in the second cake, just the same knife mark across the frosting in the same place. When we FaceTimed late one night, I noticed a small crescent scar at the base of his thumb, like a half moon. I'd never seen it before. "Box cutter," he said, "old." The next night, the scar was gone. Twins, I told myself. They mess with each other. They swap clothes, swap stories. Maybe I was the one mixing up details. Then I saw the photo. It was in a tagged post on a mutual friend's page from a bar I'd been to with Ethan the same night he left early because he was wiped. In the background, Ethan's jacket, his hat, his posture. Except he was with a woman I didn't recognize, and his hand was threaded through hers like it had memorized that shape. "Who's she?" I asked him later, showing the screenshot. He barely looked. "That's not me," he said. "That's Liam." The words came too fast. He took the phone, zoomed in, and said, "See? He's got that stupid leather bracelet. I don't wear that." I didn't remember a bracelet. I did remember that bracelet. He wore it the night he told me I was his only. It was looped around his wrist like a promise. "Right," I said, forcing a smile. "Of course." The next day, I reached out to the friend who posted the photo. "Who's the guy with the leather bracelet?" I asked, as casually as possible. "Ethan," she wrote back. "He was with someone new. You know her?" I stared at the text long enough for my coffee to go cold. I found her through a dart throw of mutual tags and comments. Her name was Nora. Her page was carefully curated. Sunlit brunch plates, gym selfies, a cat named Pixel. But sometimes, in a reflection or the corner of a frame, a familiar hand would appear. Familiar mug, familiar jacket. My jacket once, because I'd stolen it from Ethan and watched him laugh and let me keep it. I messaged her. "Hey," I wrote, "this is weird, but I think we should talk about Ethan." She replied in minutes. "You mean Liam?" I thought my heart would crack like ice in a glass. We met in person that evening at a coffee shop that smelled like burnt sugar. She wore a high ponytail and no makeup, and her eyes dared me to lie to her. We swapped notes like two detectives comparing case files. On Wednesdays, he was with me. On Fridays, with her. Sundays alternated. He called me Sunshine, her Firecracker. We both loved the Thai place with the paper lanterns. He always insisted on ordering for us. He hated her cat. He loved my neighbor's dog. He had a half-moon scar with me and no scar with her. "Twins," I said aloud, just to test the word. She laughed, dry as a match. He told me he was an only child. We sat in that sentence. The room hummed with milk steamers. A guy at the corner table thumped his laptop shut. I ran through every conversation I'd ever had with Ethan, trying to pick out the lies like threads in a sweater. He talked about his brother when I was pushing for more time, more access. It was a perfect excuse. It made me feel compassionate for his complicated family and guilty for wanting more than he could give. If there was no twin, why did someone who looked exactly like him know my coffee order and my landlord's rules? Nora held up her phone. He texts me from two numbers. One ends in 14, the other is 67. The 67-year-old only texts me after 10 p.m. and never picks up. 67 is the one that texts me after 10 p.m., I said, and he picks up for me. We stared at each other, and something clicked. Two numbers, two routines, two wardrobes, two schedules. Not one man living a double life, 2 men running a rotation like a shift schedule. What if there are 2 of them? I said slowly, and they switch. Not just alibis, full-on stand-ins. Twins? She asked, skeptical. Like actual twins? Or close enough that they can pass, I said. Clothes, cologne, phrases. My Ethan wears the leather bracelet. Yours doesn't. My Ethan hates cilantro. Yours? Loves it, she said. Orders extra. We sat with it. My hands shook. I wasn't sure if I felt vindicated or sick. We didn't need to set a trap. It set itself. 2 nights later, Ethan texted me that Liam had gotten into it with a coworker and needed crash space. He'd be at mine late. I told Nora to swing by the bar a few blocks away at 8, the bar Ethan always avoided because he said the beer tasted like pennies. If one twin showed up at my place and the other avoided the bar, we'd see who was who. At 8, I took a seat in a booth at the bar with a clear view of the door. The air smelled like hops and orange peels. I ordered fries and chewed one slowly, anger dissolving on my tongue like salt. Nora arrived, slid into the booth and nodded. She'd texted him to meet her here at 8:15. Urgent, she'd said. At 8:12, the door opened, and in walked Ethan, leather bracelet, my thief of Tuesday promises. He scanned the room, saw Nora, and froze. His face flickered. He ducked his head and started toward her, and that was my cue. I stood up. "Hey, babe," I said, loud enough for heads to turn. "You're early." He snapped to me with a smile so practiced it looked painful. "Sunshine! What a—" "And firecracker," Nora said, standing. For a heartbeat, it was comical, the way he glanced between us like he could pick a timeline to exist in. Then the door opened again, and the air shifted. The second one walked in. Same face, no bracelet. A faint crescent scar catches the bar's light. He saw Ethan, saw us, and stopped. "There it is," Nora said under her breath. "Actual twins." The second one, Liam, I guessed, recovered first. He sauntered over, hands up like a magician revealing nothing up his sleeves. "Ladies," he said. His voice had a scrape in it. "This looks messy." "It is," I said. "Sit." They didn't. Ethan swallowed hard. "It's not what it looks like," he said, which would have been funny if I weren't so tired. "You told me you didn't have a brother," Nora said to him. The narration cut in. That was me? And you told me you didn't want anything serious? "So you share everything?" I asked. "Phones, clothes, girlfriends?" "Not girlfriends," Ethan said, and for the first time his voice cracked. "We were trying to— Look, it wasn't malicious." "What was it?" I asked. My heart thudded. The anger had cooled into something steadier. A game? An experiment? You two swapping lives until someone got bored? "We're building a business," Liam said, as if that explained everything. "Consulting, travel, scheduling is a nightmare. People want your face in 2 places at once. We learned early that if we keep it consistent, phrases, habits, we can cover for each other. Work, family, everything. Dating, too. It was efficient." "Efficient," Nora repeated, disgusted. He shrugged. "We never promised anything we couldn't give." "You promised exclusivity," I said to Ethan, "on a Tuesday night with lo mein and Netflix and my knee under your hand. You promised me I was your only." Ethan opened his mouth, closed it. His eyes, usually steady, were jolting around the room. I meant you were my only," he said finally, words collapsing. Nora laughed, a short, sharp sound. "You meant I was your only when Liam was wearing your bracelet. Got it." The narration were watching. The bartender pretended to polish a glass. In some other version of my life, I would have caused a scene, thrown a drink, made a headline out of it. Instead, I took a breath, and I could feel all the way in my toes. "I don't need your calendars," I said, "or your efficiency, or your business plan. I need honesty. If you can't keep your own faces straight, you don't get mine." Nora nodded. "Same." Ethan reached for me like muscle memory. I stepped back. I saw him see that I meant it, and in that second, I also saw the smallest flicker of relief on his face, like he'd finally dropped a weight he'd been carrying too long. I wondered how many times they had gotten away with it. How many women had been turned into time slots. We left together, me and Nora. Outside, the night smelled like rain. We stood under the awning and laughed, not because any of it was funny, but because we were free and furious and alive. In the days that followed, they tried the apology tour. Long messages, careful confessions, let me explain reasoning that made their choices sound like logistics. I blocked them. Nora blocked them. We got coffee a week later and toasted to our new private joke: never date a committee. I thought a lot about the red flags I'd ironed flat. The bracelet appears and disappears. The cilantro, the scar that was sometimes there and sometimes not. The way he controlled the settings of our time, ordering for me, selecting dim places with no mirrors. The way promising exclusivity felt like a solution rather than a beginning. Love bombing disguised as reliability. The narration was what I learned, that even clever men get predictable when they build their lives on shortcuts. Wanting to believe someone doesn't make their story true. That if you ever find yourself counting scars and bracelets and phrases to prove your partner is who he says he is, you already know the answer. Sometimes the truth knocks on your door and looks like the person you love, with a different heartbeat. When it does, you have two options: play along or answer it. I opened the door. I let it in. And I let the twins, both of them, go.